It's only been in existence, I Googled it, it's only been in existence for 4 years, so that explains why. It's sort of like still a new thing. But here we are. So Tony, do you go by Tony or Anthony?
Yes, I go with Tony.
Tony and Ron is here, and I was just hearing a lot about what's going on in this building and with your company. It's pretty impressive. I mean, it's really impressive that what you have available to you. So they asked me to come down and speak about yoga today. So I wanted to just say, like, my name's Jenny Kaufman. I've been practicing yoga for about 30 years, maybe, and teaching for the last 20. I started yoga, I was a dance major in college, and this woman came in for a summer and was doing yoga. I didn't even know what it was. At the end of the summer, we were all like, what is this? This isn't really a dance class. She's like, oh, I'm just teaching yoga. So that was my first introduction. So it was a positive one. I will say for most people, their first yoga class or yoga experience sometimes isn't so positive, and it's just like anything else. If you've probably all been to a terrible restaurant, right, or had a bad experience at a doctor, or just it's like anything else. You kind of have to seek it out. So my experience was really positive. I kept it in my life, especially as I had kids and my kids grown. And I will say, everyone in my family, I have 2 adult children, are 18 and 22, and my husband, they all practice a little bit, but even before they practice yoga, it kind of permeated our whole family life. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. Anyway, currently now, so I've been teaching mostly on the North Shore for the last 20 years, but 4 years ago I took a job with Yoga 6, and I'm the program manager, so I'm in charge of the teachers and the programming for the 3 Yoga 6 studios here in Chicago, and as well as Milwaukee, which sometimes my commute to Milwaukee is shorter than my commute to the South Loop, unless you take the train. But so I love what I do. So I get to mentor new teachers, and with the explosion of yoga, I'm sure you have noticed, there is a yoga studio on every corner. You can dial up yoga on your phone, on your computer. It's everywhere. It's in your building. It's at your gym. It's at the Y. It's at your church. So there's just more and more and more available, which is awesome. So anyway, that's me. Hi there. You can come a little bit closer if you're comfortable. So before we get started and talk a little bit more, I do want to put a seed in your brain. If there is any questions that if you have taken yoga, or if you're thinking about taking yoga, no question is a dumb question, and this is an opportunity to, hi there, to ask and fire away. So just right now, start to percolate if there's anything that comes up. Please ask. Sound good? All right, I'm going to invite you to sit up nice and tall. If you are comfortable, if you wanted to slip off your shoes, I'm totally down with that. This seems like a nice, clean floor. And then just notice your posture. So as you sit up, notice if you're just a little bit slouched, or if you could sit up a little bit taller. Good. Plant your feet down into the floor. And if you're back on your seat, sometimes it's really hard to do that. So if you shift a little forward on your seat, it's a little bit easier. Take a second, lift your shoulders up into your ears. Just notice if this is you at any point during the day, all right? Draw the shoulders back in space, and then just gently let them glide down. Let's do that again. Lift them up. Oh! Squeeze them back, and let them drop down. Good. Take a second, once again, to shlom. Right? This is culturally how we live our lives, right? So all these muscles start to just be contracted all day long. These get overstretched. So think if I was like a house plant, this part of my heart right here is moving up towards the sun. Beautiful. Good. Rest your hands on your thighs, either palms up or palms down. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes for a second. If you're not comfortable, you could keep them open, maybe just gaze down. As you breathe in through your nose. And exhale slow and steady. Inhale through your nose. And exhale slow and steady. In your mind's eye, travel to the soles of your feet. Spread your feet and feel them actively press down into the earth. And as you do that, notice the musculature through your legs, through your ankles, through your thighs, as your legs are active and the feet are pressing into the earth. Feel the bottoms of your hips into the seat. And in your mind's eye, travel up through the spine to the crown of your head. Again, that feeling from the center of your chest, your sternum moving towards the light, drawing the low back up and in. a sweetness to your shoulders, your upper arm bones just hanging. And as you visualize the spine from the tip of your tail all the way to the crown of your head, admire its engineering. In yoga, the spine trumps everything. We often get very romanticized about long hamstrings or super duper open hips and open shoulders, but really what you're going for is this youth and vitality and health of your spine. Visualize each vertebrae, one stacked on top of the next, just like Legos. And notice if your chin is jutting slightly forward. See if you move your chin backwards towards your throat. So the back shelf of your skull, those occipital bones, have a little bit of flight to them. With this long spine, you're carrying the birdcage of your ribs, which house your lungs. Breathe in, fill them up. And as you exhale, there's no collapse to the structure. It's just like you're just waiting for the next inhale. Breathe in, fill it up. And breathe out, let it go. Construct a rhythm for yourself with your breathing. For our brains, it's helpful to give it something to do. So you could count. Maybe a 3-count breath in. Perhaps a 3-count breath out. If that's too short, you just add a count. If that's too long, you just take away a count. Culturally, we are designed to go. So notice if you emphasize the inhale, allow the inhale and the exhale to be an equal exchange. We'll take 3 more breaths together. Inhale, fill it up. Exhale, 1. Inhale, fill it up. Exhale, 2. Inhale, fill it up. Exhale, 3. Slowly bring in light. Flutter your eyes open. Keep your gaze downcast. Allow your chin to move towards your chest and your skull to hang heavy. Slowly roll your right ear over towards your right shoulder. Feel the left shoulder heavy. And take your left arm and just let it hang to the side. Pretend you're carrying a big heavy bag of groceries with your left hand. Full breath in. Exhale. Slow motion, draw the chin into the chest. Roll your left ear over towards your left shoulder. Skull heavy. Let your right arm just drop to the side. And then actively pull the right fingertips down towards the floor. Again, you decided to buy a watermelon at the store, and this bag's really heavy. Big deep breath in. Big deep breath out. Draw the chin back into your chest, hands on your thighs. And then slowly rise on up. Take a breath in, reach your arms towards the sky. Exhale, draw your thumbs together, slice right through the center. Interlace your fingers. Press the heels of your hands forward. Breath in. Exhale, round your back, your head back in towards your chest like you already practiced. Pull the shoulder blades apart. So actively, the heels of the hands are driving forward, stretching the arm bones, stretching your upper back. Push down through your feet. Inhale, rise to the top. Bring your arms with you. Exhale, like someone poked you in the belly button, chin into your chest, round your back, heels of the hands forward, pulling your upper back apart. Press through your feet. Inhale, rise to the top. One more time. Exhale, round, 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 round. Empty everything. And inhale, rise. Separate your palms, reach up towards the sky. Palms come together and thread them right to the center of your heart. Full breath in. Full breath out. Release your hands. You just did yoga. What is it? What is yoga? You can just talk. What do you think it is?
Breathe.
Breathing? Check. What else?
Stretching.
Stretching. Why is that always? Yeah, that's usually number one. So I love that breathing is number one. Stretching. What else?
It's hard to do.
It's hard? Was that hard what you just did?
Like, yeah, no, but that's hard.
You just did yoga. It wasn't hard. It can be. It can be, yeah. What else?
Movements.
Control.
Movements. Because I'm in a, and certainly I rush a lot, so when you're talking, I
You were like,
slow down.
ah!
Yeah. So,
I have somewhere to be. Someone's dinging me right now.
What's a relaxed state?
What?
What's a relaxed state?
Relaxed, focus, breathing, stretching. It's something that you can do, an activity that you can do with your mind and with your body. It does promote stretching and it does promote strengthening, and there is a wide swath in between, right? So it's everything from lying on the ground breathing to doing some sort of fancy thing with your leg up in the air, but there is an enormous rainbow in between. So part of the problem with social media and what's happened to yoga is these Instagram photos of people in bikinis on top of like a mountain sticking their foot behind their head, like, you know, people's interpretation of like, well, I can't do that, so I can't do yoga. Like that's just a thing, right? Everyone can do yoga. If you can breathe, you can do yoga. Sound good? Who in here has not tried yoga? Okay, good. No one raised their hand because you did today. Who hadn't tried yoga before today? Awesome. Who's taken more than 10 yoga classes? Okay, more than 5. Okay, I have an idea. All right, so yoga is all of those things. We'll talk about labels in just a second because I think what's happened is it's become super confusing, right? So I don't know if you you have yoga here. What is the label, Ron? Is it Ron? What's the label of your yoga class? Power?
It's a vinyasa flow.
Vinyasa. That's a word. Does anyone know the meaning of that word?
Is that like flow?
Flow. Vinyasa. Vinyasa, the literal definition is to place in a special way, which I like that definition for life in general. Like, you know, that it's consciously you're putting things together in a way that makes sense. If you are ever in a class and you're like, what? Now we're going, like, that doesn't make sense. If it physically doesn't make sense, that's not a great vinyasa class, right? So a vinyasa class, it's mindful. We'll talk more about labels in just a little bit. I won't forget, I promise. Historically, yoga, like yoga philosophy, has been around forever. You know, for 3,000 is a big debate, 3,000, 5,000 years, philosophy-wise. It is permeated and permeated and permeated. The actual physical practice is a little bit newer, probably 100, 150 years. There's a lot, bless you, a lot of debate about where and what it is, and physically, unfortunately, physically is really where our focus has become. I would say in the last 100 or the last even 30 years, yoga physically has changed more than it did for those 3,000. Right? It's super, like, it's just become this whole other phenomenon. There are a lot of unbelievable benefits to it, but there's also a lot of traps that I just want to bring up as we talk about it. A lot of people with experience with yoga, any of these statistics that I'm going to say today, you can Google, anyone can Google yoga and any statistic, but I stuck to one survey. It's a 2016 survey, so it's already 2018, so it's probably due to be updated. And it's a survey done by the Yoga Alliance and the Yoga Journal magazine. The Yoga Alliance is just a governing body. It would be like, it's a professional organization that yoga teachers join. It's kind of like a stamp. So whatever, we'll talk about teachers too in a little bit, but so the Yoga Alliance and Yoga Journal, so all of these statistics that I'm talking about are from that survey. In 2012, there were 20.4 million people practicing yoga. In 2016, there were 36.7 million people practicing yoga. So in 2018, I can't imagine it's going to go up. I'm going to guess probably around 50 million. That's 15% of all US adults. So that's a lot. There's guys in the room, men in the room. I love it when I come to class and there's more than one guy. I also hold 2 retreats a year, and in the last 2-3 years, we've had a lot more guys come on retreat. 2 years ago was the first time we had 2 guys come together. They weren't a couple. They just were like 2 North Shore men that do yoga. And we're like, yeah, that sounds fun, doing yoga in Mexico for a week. That's the first time that has ever happened, which was so exciting. But I love when I walk into a room and there's men and women practicing, young and old. So in 2012, there were 4 million men practicing. In 2016, 10 million. So it's going to go up too. As I said, young or old, but for people over 50, 14 million. I just joined that club. So young and old. So sometimes I hear people that don't want to try a yoga class because they think everyone is 25 and cute yoga pants. It's not the case. I've seen many bad yoga pants, by the way. Let's talk about the benefits. So everyone in here has had an experience with yoga. So what are some of the benefits of taking yoga, of practicing yoga, of having a practice?
I love it. It's being a runner stretches out my legs.
Stretches out your legs. Physical benefits. What else?
Better sleep.
Better sleep. What else?
Better focus.
Better focus. I love that you guys are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's some of the things that came up. Increased flexibility, you mentioned. Increased strength, increased muscle tone, improved respiration. This is a huge one. Do you know that guy, that Dr. Andrew Weil, that looks a little bit like Santa Claus? You know that guy? There's a quote in his book that I forget, it's like 80% of the American population doesn't breathe well enough to sustain normal health. To sustain normal health. We're all, right? You know that feeling when you're anxious, or watching, if you have children, watching your kids when they start to flip out, right? What immediately happens? It affects their breathing, right? So you're a runner, practicing yoga, have you noticed a difference in just your pace and being able to breathe? Yeah. Maybe? Yeah.
No, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been practicing for a while.
Yeah. Also, I hear people, like, I'll have students who, they're at the dentist, right? And that's that moment when they're like, all right, drill on, right? So take a deep breath, right? Of knowing how that can calm the nervous system. It's all connected. There are very few practices that are both mind and body, so it's a kind of a fascinating exploration. Maintaining balanced metabolism, just moving, just experiencing moving through space, right? So exhilarating, so lovely. Weight reduction reduces inflammation. I have a lot of people who will ask me if they start yoga, if they will lose weight. I think there are quicker ways to burn calories than a yoga practice. If that's your sole reason, there's more conversation to be had. What I do think it does is increases your awareness of how you feel, of how you inhabit and feel in your body. So maybe you'll start to recognize when you're actually really full, or when you're truly hungry, or when your energy level is low. And you'll start to recognize the things that feel good to fuel you, right? Maybe it doesn't, like, oh man, it really didn't feel that good to eat that bag of Doritos and drink this Coke. But actually eating this apple and just moving and breathing, that feels good. You'll start to recognize that. That carries through in other things as well, of just your environment. Actually, I really don't like, I have this thing about the TV being on in my house. Someday I'm going to live in a house without television. It drives me bananas to just have noise in the background. And there's so many people who that's actually really comforting, my in-laws particularly, if I'm being perfectly honest. Right? It's constantly on. No one's watching it, but it's constantly on. They have to have this like background noise all the time. That doesn't feed me, right? Silence feed me. Even my kids in the car, they're like, Mom, you don't listen to anything. I'm like, I know, I like the quiet. Someone mentioned quiet already. So you start to notice things like that feed you. And it goes for company too, the company that you keep. You start to notice people that just suck the life out of you, and also people who bring you up. You just start to notice how things affect you. I think that's definitely part of the benefits of yoga. Cardiocirculatory health, this is true. Depends on the kind of yoga you're practicing, on whether your heart rate is going to rise or not. So more conversation about that. Could be improved athletic performance. Mostly I see it in focus, being able to focus. I've worked with a few teams, and it's interesting also, you had talked about community classes. One of the things that's really interesting is being in a community class. So anyone can practice yoga, and you could practice yoga at home by yourself. But being in a class has a different energetically, like, it kind of holds you accountable. Yes? You shook your head really like enthusiastic. Okay. So say what else you're thinking.
What I found in doing a class versus years ago popping in a video. I think I personally try harder to reach that pose and make that extension, even though maybe I don't think I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's and then positive energy feeds on positive energy.
Totally.
So the room, just by the end of the yoga class, everybody's up.
Right, you start to breathe together. Like breathing in a room full of people is really powerful. If you've ever taken a rockin' power vinyasa class and you're like, this is wicked fun. Like everyone is moving together, everyone is breathing together. It starts an energetic train, right, that you can all latch onto. And one of the things that's interesting about what Tony and Ron were saying about the programs that you have established here is that ability to work as a community and breathe together and do whatever class, whether it's yoga or spinning or whatever, that starts to translate into when you're working as a team, right? That you start to catch one another's energy. Of like you help one another out. You can kind of ride on someone's energy for a while. It's just like how when you're biking and that like those big pods of bikers, like how they form a line. And, like, I'm tired. I'm going to the back. I'm going to drag in this wind for a little bit. Like someone else is going to push. Those things happen. So when I worked with particularly the Northwestern women's tennis team, that was the biggest thing. That it holds one another accountable, and they could feel one another, right? They could feel one another breathing. They could feel when one another were like someone was kind of dipping down, of bringing one another up. Balance. This is a huge one. Improves balance. My oldest client is turning 78 next Wednesday. She's been practicing yoga for about 8 years, I think. She is extraordinary. But 2 things for her. She lives in assisted living. 2 of the big markers are being able to balance and get up and off the floor. So in the hour that we work together a week, we get up and off the floor 6 times, and then she balances holding a chair and trying to let go. It's a huge thing, and she walks around that place like, I can get up. At least she thinks it's like the biggest deal. It is a big deal. Otherwise, she would have more assistance. So definitely improving balance, which improves focus. Right? Improving balance. If you are injured from whatever it is that you do in your life, it is a great way to continue to rehabilitate an injury and also to learn how your body is now going to move. One of the things that's fascinating, both my kids are athletes in high school, and as they got injuries, there was a moment as they turned, 17, 18, that they thought it was just going to completely go away and they were going to go back to like their baby beautiful state. It's like, guess what? That shoulder injury that you got playing football, that's going to be there for the rest of your life. It's right. You're laughing. It's true, right? Or people who run, your knees are your knees. You only get, you get, well, now you can get new ones, but you get these new ones. But the how to take care of your body, especially with your history of your body, which is fascinating that people try to avoid the history of their body as opposed to just learning new ways to move in a way that's comfortable in the new shell that you were given. It's inevitable that you're going to have injuries. It just is what it is, right? But how can you move in a way that, or promote health and what? Bye. She's taking notes and now she's got to go. That's all right. How can you move in a way that will continue to allow that injury to maybe continue to heal, but also maybe that's just as good as it's going to get. Does that make sense?
Can I ask you on that? So I have a shoulder injury, a pinched nerve actually. So in practicing yoga is a way it works where I will still attempt something, but I'll just kind of naturally figure out a way
Absolutely.
to do it.
Yeah. Have, first of all, if you're in a class situation, tell your teacher,
Right.
hey, I just had lower back surgery, or I'm pregnant, or I've had this chronic shoulder pain. The first thing out of their mouth should be, have you seen a doctor? They're not a doctor.
Right.
Maybe they are, but most aren't. Yeah. But have you seen a doctor? The second thing I ask, is it chronic or is it acute? I sprained my ankle, I think yesterday, walking out of my house, as opposed to I've had this ankle injury for 25 years. I kind of, figured it out. That's because those are two different things. But then having someone be able to say hey, this pose probably isn't going to feel so good for that shoulder. Try it like this. How does that? And then they're going to ask you, how does that feel in your body? Because they don't inhabit your body, right? You do. So learning ways to move, learning ways, so you can get ideas from them of how to modify, but really the goal of your yoga practice is to continue to open that shoulder, to continue to find more range of motion, but also to learn how to live with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great.
What else? Chronic pain is another huge one, right? If you are a person who is in chronic pain, sometimes a yoga practice might be the only hour of your day or 45 minutes of your day that you allow your mind to attach itself to some other neurons, to some other information. So someone who is in chronic pain might find a lot of relief in a practice of yoga, whether it's a vigorous practice of yoga or a really mellow practice of yoga. I worked with a lot of people who are going through chemo, who are going through a treatment, and between the mind practice and the breathing practice, have been able to find a lot of comfort. We talked about culturally, how we are, we're addicted to information constantly coming at you, right? There's very few things in life anymore that you aren't even when I'm sleeping, my phone is next to me. I keep saying that I'm going to get like an all-time alarm clock, but I never do. There was this commercial on a while ago that the woman's lying in bed and she's like, I just need to send that email before I wake up. Like, I love that. Like, especially the first year of this job, I felt like that. I was on call 24/7. We're open. The only day that we're closed is Christmas Day, and we have classes from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. I'm in charge of 276 classes a week. It's a lot that can go wrong, right? So it was constant. Like, someone didn't show up, the heat doesn't turn on, we have a leak in the bathroom. I'm like, oh my God. So this constant information. And what happens is now that we're so used to it, even like sometimes when I'm standing in line at Starbucks, and if I'm not checking my phone, if I just stand in Starbucks, you feel naked. Right? It's so vulnerable. Everyone else is important and on their phones. Like, there's this constant need to check it. I just spent a week at the Outer Banks, North Carolina. We rented a huge house with 3 other families, and there were 6 kids between 18 and 26 there. And my entire goal for the week was to get them to not be on their phone. And I thought about making them, as soon as we got there, put them in a basket. That was my ultimate goal. But it's like giving up anything else. Sugar, if anyone has tried to give up caffeine or sugar, it's intensely hard. Anything that you're addicted to try to just cold turkey stop is really hard. So we slowly, like by Thursday, everyone was like less and less and less on their phone. So one of the things that I appreciate about yoga is it's still one of the few places that there aren't phones in the studio. It's like swimming. That's it. I can't think of anything else, right? Maybe getting a massage, but I talked to a couple massage therapists that are having trouble with people with iWatches. That's driving them bananas. They're getting a massage, and underneath the table, they're like checking. I'm like, why are you paying for a massage? So this idea of being, of letting some of that, set it to the side, and just being with yourself, what I have come to realize is, for a lot of people, that's really uncomfortable territory. I had a student for a while who realized, he came up to me after class one day and he's like, I am so competitive. I'm competitive about everything in my life, and now here I am in yoga. He's like watching the guy next to him. It's like working so crazy hard, and my constant feedback from him is like, here, let go, let go. Don't try so hard. Do less, do less, do less. And just like one day he got it. He just like stood there. He's like, I'm like this about everything. But it's this pattern that you notice about yourself. So having a practice, even if it's not an asana practice, a yoga physical asana practice, maybe it's a walking practice, maybe it's a meditation practice, maybe it's a breathing practice, that you spend time with just yourself and watch your patterns. Notice, like, oh, I'm always quitting. That's mine. I'm always like, I'm done. Or even when I practice at home by myself, like first down dog, I'm like, oh, I should clean underneath my bed. I'm like easily distracted. I'm sure I've had 10 emails in the 20 minutes I've been, right? So just noticing your patterns, I'm like, oh, I'm always stopping midstream. So great things about, again, whether it's an asana practice or any other kind of mindfulness practice. Decreases stress, relieves anxiety, improves quality of life. Tony mentioned something earlier that he has in his meditation group, that a way of checking in. And in this survey, 20% of yoga practitioners are more likely to have a positive self-image. So I'm a huge proponent of yoga in general. I'm a larger proponent of yoga for women in general and young women who have the worst. Lastly, and we'll move a little bit, I was wondering about myths about yoga. So when I ask people if I tell them what I do, they're like, oh, I can't practice yoga, I'm not flexible, is the number one thing that people say to me. What else have you heard? What else would stop you going to take yoga on vacation or yoga at a studio or?
Heard two things. One is it's tied in, like if you're a Catholic, it affects your religious beliefs.
Oh, huge,
It's
yeah. I didn't think about that, but you're right.
And then the other one is I'm too heavy for yoga.
Oh,
Too
that
fat.
breaks my heart. I'll address your first thing in just a second. What else?
It might not do it right, and others will like do it better,
Huge,
competitive.
huge. What else? I want to address that too.
I mean, I like it. Classes I've taken, I guess I just need to make it part of my regular routine. Because if it's not on your schedule, you still think about it.
Yeah,
I know I need it.
yeah. All right, let's tackle the religion one. I briefly mentioned historically that yoga philosophically is rooted way back. So it's a gift from India, right? And it is weaved in culturally and religiously in their culture. When we're talking about yoga, the physical asana practice, that really came much later. The mindfulness practice, whether it's weaved in, it doesn't matter, right? Because there's all sorts of other mindfulness practices. I would say if you're in a class that you have that reaction, find a different class. Simple as that.
Oh, it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother you.
Those
Yeah.
are myths that I've heard
Yeah.
people say.
I would say, in my experience living in the Midwest, I don't feel like it's like heavily, I don't think it comes up anymore. But I have heard that. If someone else's experience is different, shout it out. The other thing I want to address, what did you say about not doing it right?
Right.
So I have this other statistic that, where is it? 98%, so that's pretty much everybody, of people who practice yoga consider themselves a beginner. I love that statistic.
That's a good thing.
Right? It's amazing. So when we were talking this morning, we were talking about beginner's mind, right? Of just being open to the experience. People spend so much time looking over their shoulder, worried about what they look like in all sorts of ways. What they look like, their actual body shape, what they're wearing, what they're doing, where they are in life, what they're driving, what kind of house they live in. Like, it's such a waste of time as opposed to looking inward. So the beauty of a yoga practice, yes, we talked about practicing in a community and how uplifting that can be. It's just an energetic uplifting. It's not like you're in practice. People are so concerned that everyone's looking at you. No one's looking at you. Most of the time when I teach a class, if I say something like, oh my gosh, did you see that woman in the back with that beautiful top on? Everyone will be like whoever we're talking to, like, no. Like, they don't see no one sees anybody. And even the myth about being in the front, we were joking around about that. Guess what? You spend most of your time upside down looking at the people in the back. So all of you who think like you're going to go to the back row, we're all looking at you. Like, you're actually safer in the front. No one's looking at you. It's so interesting, right? Nobody cares. And the thing about yoga as a whole, the more you know, the more there is to know, right? I've been studying this practice forever, I feel like, and I'm still amazed. And the other thing is no body, physical body, looks the same. Nobody is the same. So your experience in your own body is your experience. So nothing is universal. The idea that it's a practice, there isn't like in martial arts, there isn't like, now you get the brown belt. There isn't like, there is no variant to grade it. There isn't a yoga marathon or a yoga show. There isn't like a culmination of now you get what? It's a constant practice, right? It's a yoga practice. There isn't ever a yoga end. So cool, right? So there is no judgment. If you are in a situation or a class that feels like that, find another class. There's plenty out there. All right, let's talk about finding class and then we'll move a little bit. So it sounds like you have a lovely program here. We're going to make Ron come up here and demonstrate all of his, his yoga prowess. No, he's lovely. So if this isn't a convenient place or the times don't work for you, I encourage you to seek it out elsewhere. It's, there are yoga studios everywhere. Gym, the Y, JCC. online. I teach 2 retreats a year, and every year, for every retreat, there's someone who signs up who's never done yoga before. I'm fascinated by that. Hi there.
Hi.
Come on in. The other thing that is available that people do not take advantage of is a private. I don't know if you offer them. Do you?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've done it before
Yeah.
outside of here, but no.
Yeah. If you already know, if you know about yourself that you have a lot of anxiety, and the thought of like taking off your shoes and going into class in, you know, a tight outfit just like freaks you out, find a teacher, ask around. Plenty of people, 15% of us, all of adults, are doing yoga. Find someone in your life that has a teacher that they love, and ask for even one private. And then you just kind of get like the basics down, because once you speak the language, once you're like, okay, breathe in, breathe out, down dog, shavasana, that's really all you need to know, right? Like you have that, you sort of have that underneath your belt. It's huge. Someone with an injury, seek out the teacher, talk to them. You don't even have to pay for a private. Ask them if they would meet with you before class or after class. 99% of the time, unless they are running to teach somewhere else, they will be like, yes, you can't get us to shut up. We can't wait to talk to you about all your issues, right? And the more you practice, it's like the longer the issues are, like top to bottom, right to left. Like, how much time do you have? Usually with beginner students, I'm like, how's your body? Do you have any injuries? They're like, no, I'm fine. And then people who have been practicing yoga for a while, they're like, well, let me tell you about my right ankle. Let me tell you about my left knee, my right hip. You know, it goes on and on and on. Find the right teacher. If you walk into any space and it does not feel warm, not in temperature, but like friendly, warm. If you do not feel welcome, if they're not, this is where you put your shoes. Here's where you hang up your coat. Your class is going to be in this space. Do you need a mat? Do you need a towel? I mean, sometimes people come in, they're like, I don't know. Do I need a mat? Do I need a towel? I had this guy I taught on the North Shore of this place called Niyama. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I was there. And this guy came in on Sunday after church with his chinos on and his belt and his loafers. And he's like, today's the day. I'm going to try yoga. Great. It was like a level 3 vinyasa class. Like, did you bring any different clothes? He's like, no, did I need to? I'm like, well, let's untuck your shirt and take off your belt. For some reason, I thought that would help. He just slugged it out the whole time. He's super into it. He was sweating bullets. He's like, I'm going to come back next week and I'm going to bring shorts. Great idea, right? But how would you know? So I encourage you to find a warm and a friendly atmosphere. That's number 1. Clear cues and instruction. So if you are taking this class and you're like, I don't know what this person is saying. This doesn't make any sense to me. Find another class. Clear cues and instruction. And it doesn't necessarily mean someone who's been teaching 20 years compared to someone who's been teaching 1 year, because that person might be a great teacher. They just you just hear what they say and you get it, right? So that's huge. They're helpful, they're approachable. You can talk to them about an injury. You can talk to them about, hey, I'm going to be 2 minutes late. Can I still come into class? Helpful, approachable. They're going to help you. It's like, yes, come in. I'll set up a mat and blocks for you. Just sneak in when you're ready. Knowledgeable and safe. Safety is huge. Can you get hurt doing yoga?
Yes.
Yeah. You can get hurt walking. Yes, of course you can get hurt doing yoga. Sometimes I hear that. That's like people are surprised. Like, I thought yoga was like soft and cushy and lovely. It's like anything else. Of course you can get hurt. So safety is huge. If you feel unsafe, if you feel like you're in a class that you're like, I am going to hurt myself, that's not the class for you. And then ask that hopefully warm and fuzzy teacher of like, this class didn't quite serve me. What else do you recommend? Right? Hopefully they'll say, oh, I teach a deep stretch at Thursday at 6 o'clock. And hopefully they'll go as far as like, this isn't even the studio for you. You know, you should try, you know, I had this great, you know, recommendation of another class in another place. Awesome. Eye contact. Do they start their class, they're like, all right, let's get started. And then they do the whole class like this. You can't, like, they're just practicing. You're like, hey, what about me back here? You know, are they looking at you? Are they making eye contact? Are they seeing what they're doing? Are they offering cues that are helping you because they're seeing what you're doing? Hands-on assist is another thing. Do you know what I mean by that? So having someone come over to you and grab a limb, and maybe you're like this, and they just say, hey, well, how does that feel if we lengthen your arm? You're like, extraordinary. It feels extraordinary. So, you know, look for people who are engaging. who are teaching as opposed to just leading, just reading from a script, right? They are teaching you. Warnings of not such a great teacher. I think we kind of, maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not, but anybody who has, you talk to them in the locker room or in the lobby, and they're talking normal, and then this drives me crazy, and then they get in front of the class and like, inhale, exhale, like they're just like a different person all of a sudden, like they're yoga person, like what like kind of show is going on? Like they're on stage, you know, and they're doing all these ridiculously hard poses that maybe only they can do, and everyone in the room is just like, what is going on? Like, yeah, not so great. Seek out someone, right, who that you feel is approachable. That's the biggest thing. Lastly, and then we'll move, and I wanted to talk about the labels. So vinyasa we talked about. Most things that are offered are from that tree. They're from that branch, vinyasa yoga, which means that the teacher can make it up. They have decided to toss the yoga salad in a way that they're hoping it serves the class. They're looking around, maybe they're adjusting on the fly, like, ooh, what I had planned is a little bit too much. Or there's only 3 people in here, and 2 of the 3 people told me they have a shoulder injury, and I had this whole class planned about shoulders. They're changing, hopefully. If they're not, it's a red flag, right? So a vinyasa class means that you might not know what you're getting. If you're taking a class that is a set sequence, it might say on the description, like at Yoga 6 we offer a hot set sequence. It's the same every time. Bikram is a set sequence. It is exactly the same every time. Ashtanga is a lineage that is the same sequence every time. You can take it anywhere in the world, in any language, and the poses are going to be in the exact same order. What would be the benefit to that? You remember the routine. Repetition and what? You remember the routine. You start to remember. What does it do for your brain?
Muscle memory.
What?
It increases your muscle memory, like your
Yeah.
brain's fired.
Right, and you start to get this like, there's a comfort level, right? You take it once or taken it twice. You're like, okay, I know I can get through this.
I think Ashtanga is like a marathon of yoga.
It provides a lot of
It's
comfort.
hard. What?
I said it provides a lot of comfort too.
It
So that
provides
you
a lot
know
of
you
comfort.
can learn and you know
Right.
what's going to happen.
Right, as opposed to it always just being a toss bag. You're like, oh shit, handstands, no dice. You know, like if you take a set sequence, you're like, okay, I can do that. Then it also starts to empower you. You're engaged in a way that you're like, okay, at this point from here on in, it's kind of candy, I'm good. Like you start to know what's coming next, and you start to recognize, oh, last week I couldn't touch the floor, I couldn't put my hand down. Last week I was on a block, and now this week my hand's on the ground, right? That starts to free your brain in a way of like, huh, yoga works. Awesome, right? So benefits to both. Benefits to both. Bikram is hot. Power yoga is usually taught in a heated room, sometimes not sometimes. If you are affected by the heat, ask. If you are a person that is super type A, you are always going. It's really hard for you to relax. You love spicy food. You are on the go. You drink 10 cups of coffee a day. I would say that hot yoga, hot power yoga, probably would appeal to you, but it's probably the last thing that you need in your life. Right? How you do one thing is normally how you do most things. So if we're talking about creating a balance and using yoga as a balance, find something that starts to feed the other side of you. If you're the opposite, if you sleep until noon and you just are really slow, right? It's just like, just kind of always behind, always late. You're always late. Your friends are like, where are you? Like you're just constantly sort of just like dragging behind. You love mashed potatoes. Everything is really comforting, soothing. You love winter, right? For you, maybe a hot power class starts to spike the other side of you. Starts to find it like come on, let's go. So ask. Right? There's nothing worse than someone, I teach hot yoga once a week, and there's nothing worse than someone who just did not bargain for hot yoga. You can see it a mile away. You know, they're like, oh, I liked class, but God, it's fucking hot in here. Like, they're dying, you know? If that is not for you, know that isn't all yoga. So seek something else out. Are there any other labels that you see? Hatha yoga, does anyone see that on their schedule? Hatha usually tends to be a little bit slower. Prop oriented. By props I mean blocks, straps, maybe a bolster, maybe using the wall, so you're using things to support you, chair yoga. Restorative, so one of my favorite things to teach, restorative yoga, if you're looking for a really subtle practice, very mindful practice, combining a little bit of meditation, some breathing work. Restorative is a great thing to seek out. Any other labels that you see?
See, yin yang.
Yin yang. What does that mean to you?
I don't know.
It's not funny that
I've seen
sitting
it a lot.
on where I sit on the other side of the desk. It's like funny that we stick out these labels, and I'm like, oh, and no one knows what that means. We used to have this class called Classic. Our hot class was called Classic. What does that mean? People like no one's Googling Classic, you know. Yin yang. So what we were talking about, balance. It's funny that you brought up that word, balance, right? Sun, moon, feminine, masculine, light, dark. Hatha, the actual word is sun, moon, hatha in Sanskrit. Yin yang, so your yin side is your soft side, your moon side. A slow contemplative practice, maybe long holds, long low lunges, deep stretching. And your yang side is your spark, your sun side. So ironically, all classes are yin and yang, but I'm not sure exactly what that label means, but probably, I'm guessing some slows, or maybe I would probably start with the heated, more heated section, a quicker section, and then a long stretch at the end. That's probably what it means. I taught at this one studio that the labels, I got there, I'm teaching it, I'm like, I don't even know what this label means. It sounds like a smoothie. It was like, I don't get it. So ask the person at the front desk. If it's the teacher at the front desk, even better, get some information from them on what it means.
So not a label, but can you talk about the relationship to yoga and Pilates?
Pilates?
Yes.
It's a great brother or sister to yoga practice. Pilates is a person, Joseph Pilates, who started a practice that is about core. And when I say core, I don't just mean like a six-pack, but really from your entire trunk. So it's a set series of exercises that promote health and strength for that area of your body. I mean, it'll end up strengthening all areas of your body. What I like about Pilates a lot is it's very specific. If you have a great teacher, or if you're using those machines like the reformers and stuff, it targets specific, so specific. Here's the thing about yoga though, you could apply what you learn in a yoga practice to any other thing that you do, to running, to Pilates, to whatever sport you play. You can apply that mindfulness, like, oh, I notice while I'm running, I'm not really taking in full breaths, or I'm dragging, my right foot is dragging behind. While I'm doing Pilates, maybe I'm noticing, the clarity around the breath cue, or really being able to access, like knowing where you are in space is huge. Spatial awareness, right? That would help you in anything that you do. Any other questions about labels? Are you also inspired? Ron, your class is going to be packed tonight. Yeah. Let's stand up. If you're right next to a person, we have plenty of space, so just move a little bit to the side. So if you took your arms out to the side, you won't run into your friend. Look down at your feet. And even if you have socks on, lift all 10 of your toes. Sometimes I find it easier to stare at them and they do what I want. Does anyone else feel like that? And then when you put your toes back down into it, feel like you could spread them out, like we're all standing at the beach in the sand. Do that again. Lift all 10 toes. And then spread your toes out. And then as you stare down at your ankles, allow the inside of your arches of your feet to drop down so your ankle bones, those Frankenstein bones, are kind of moving towards one another. And lift the arches of your feet and try to draw the weight to the outer edges of your foot, to the baby edges of your foot. And go back and forth. Notice how much movement is in your ankles. So as you rock the inside of the arch down towards the floor, and then rock back and forth. And then find a neutral spot. So your ankle bones are just right above the sole of your foot. They're not caving in, the toes are spread. And travel up with your eyes up through your legs and lift your kneecaps. And then slowly lift your chest. Let your arms hang at the side so your legs are active. Take your arms out in front of you, reach up towards the sky. Pause here, pretend you're holding a block between your hands and trying to put the block up into the ceiling tiles. Awesome. Take your right hand, grab your left wrist. Go up first in space, lifting the ribs off your waist, and take a slow lean towards the door side of the room. Good. With your right hand, give your left arm a literal tug. Good. As you stay here, push the sole of your left foot as hard as you can into the floor. Big deep breath in through your nose. Big deep breath out. Push down through your feet. Squeeze your thigh bones towards one another. Rise to the top and switch. Left hand grabs your right wrist. First order of business is go up. Lift the ribs off the waist and take a slow lean towards the street. Pause here with your left hand, literal tug. Right fingertips reaching out the window. Take your mind's eye to the sole of your right foot and push it down into the earth as hard as you can. Full big deep breath in. Big deep breath out. Push your feet into the earth, squeeze the leg bones in, rise to the top. Reach both arms up towards the sky. Take the center of your heart, your eyes, your chin, and look at the space between your hands and lengthen your body. Push your ankles and feet down into the floor and your wrists and your fingertips towards the sky. Full breath in. Exhale, let your elbows bend. Take them out to the side, around, and find your hands behind your back. The knuckles to the back of your waistband. Squeeze your elbows towards one another. Notice if you're caving through the front of your body, like that plant, lift up the center of your chest. Breath in, lengthen your arms as best as possible. Exhale, bend your elbows, stick the knuckles right into the waist. Inhale, lengthen your arms. Exhale, bend. One more time, inhale, lengthen your arms and hold. Draw your chin into your chest, let your skull hang heavy. Feel like the baby edge of your arms are going to reach up towards the ceiling, the chin coming further and further and further towards your chest. One more breath in. Breath out. Lift your eyes, lift your chin, lift your head. Relax your arms. Inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky. Exhale, hands to your heart. Palms stay together. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, arms out to the side, to the hips. Arms forward, inhale, reach high. Exhale, hands to your heart. Arms stay together, inhale, reach high. Exhale, arms to your hips. Look behind you, find a seat. Sitting on the edge of the seat, widen your feet. I'm going to turn to, I love these chairs because they have wheels. Hinge from your hips. You are not moving from your ribs, but instead move the hip points forward. Reach down and see if your arms, your fingertips graze the floor. Let your head hang heavy. Like a big bowling ball, let the back of your skull completely release. Shake your head a little yes. Shake your head a little no. Slowly walk your hands onto your thighs. Use your strong arms, push down as you roll up, bone by bone by bone, coming back to a seat. Keep your left foot planted. Pick up your right knee. Place your right ankle on the left thigh. Bye, sir.
Bye.
Hinging again from your hips. Shift your body weight forward. You can put your hand on your foot. Right hand on your right knee. The crown of your head reaching forward and your tailbone reaching backwards. Does anyone have any sensation in your outer right hip? That's nice. 3 more breaths. Inhale through your nose. Exhale 1. Inhale through your nose. Exhale 2. 1 more. Inhale through your nose. Exhale 3. Slowly lift your eyes, lift your nose, lift your chin. Rise on up, straight spine. Remember I said spine trumps everything. Hi, set your right foot down on the ground. Draw your left knee into your chest. Give it a squeeze. Place your left ankle on your right thigh. Keeping your foot firmly flexed. Again, you're hinging from your hips, so not moving from your waist, but send the center of your chest forward, tailbone backwards, and then keep the spine long. Left hand on your left thigh, left knee, right hand on your left foot. 3 big deep breaths. Inhale through your nose. Exhale 1. Inhale. Exhale 2. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale 3. Lift your eyes, lift your nose, lift your chin, straight spine to rise, and release your left foot down onto the ground. Good. Plant your hands on your thighs, close your eyes. Regardless of what kind of class you take, they are all going to end the same way. Shavasana, corpse pose. It sounds so morose, right? Corpse pose. But what you're really practicing is letting go. You practice a little bit every day of letting go. your eyes closed, just notice how you feel. Whatever information you gathered. If there was a new idea, allow it to take root. Maybe the next time you hear a phrase or are offered any kind of these practices, you'll just remember a little seed that was planted. Take your palms together at your heart. Right, this word, namaste, it means the light in me bows or recognizes the light in you. And by the light, I mean everything that connects us, that makes us human. The good, right? Your sweet, sweet souls. Not the part of you who I ate a Pop-Tart for dinner, not that part, right? But the good part, the sweet, the part that makes us all human. We'll take a breath in together. Exhale, sigh. Let's do that again, because now you know what I'm going to say. Inhale nice and deep. Exhale, sigh. Take your thumbs up to the center of your forehead. Right? This third eye, this seat of wisdom, intuition. I'm so glad that we got this hour to spend together. Namaste. Thanks, you guys. Before you rush out, I'm going to throw some stuff on this chair. I have some free class passes at Yoga 6 if you want to come check us out, and some other stuff here. So take some collateral if you want to hang something on your refrigerator to remind you to go to yoga. Ron's here. Ask him about when yoga's here, and Tony's here about his other mindfulness things that he offers. I'm so impressed.
Thank you everyone for coming. It is 10 o'clock, so if you have a meeting, thanks very much for coming. We're going to sit for another few minutes if you'd like to stay. But thanks so much for your attention. Appreciate it.
If you have any other questions, please feel free to come on up here and ask. I'm sticking around. I'm hoping it's going to stop raining.